Hello. Welcome to episode 3 of the Microfactory series. Today, we will be essentially redoing everything in episode 1 because, well, Edge just hates me and Microsoft sucks. I don't know. It's eh. Today, we will, like I said, just be doing what we did last episode, technically. And we will also be doing one more component. In this video, I have also decided to essentially try to speed run past all the stuff we did last time because it's kind of annoying that I have to redo all of this. Another thing is that for this video, I have actually changed my audio recording software from a random web-based one to Audacity. Hopefully this turns out better than the previous system, because, yeah. Fun fact, this is actually my second recording of the audio for this video, because the old audio app, when I try to export the audio, just broke, corrupted, and decided that it hates itself. So, I thought it was a pretty good time to switch to something better. This is that something better, at least I hope. It seems it's what all the other big people use, so who knows? Maybe it'll actually be useful. It's quite relaxing just doing this. Some of you may notice that this video is releasing way later than most of my videos, which normally release roughly in the morning-ish. That is because I had a very busy day, and again, audio corrupted. I wish I had a way to show you what the original audio was, but again, I can't. For these videos, I really need to think of some sort of topic to discuss. It sounds like a really good idea, actually, to try and, discuss something while the gameplay is going on. I guess I might as well do some reviews of various factory games. I mean, can't think of much else. This is kind of last minute that I've decided to do this. So... What do we want to start with? Might as well start with probably the most well-known, Factorio. I definitely have had a lot of fun with Factorio over the years. It has consistently been one of my favorite games to mess around with, although not my absolute favorite. That has to go to the sci-fi colony simulator RimWorld. But, yeah, Factorio is an amazing game. If you haven't seen something about it, I would highly recommend you check it out. It definitely was the main inspiration for this game. And I've definitely looked to it when trying to think of new ideas. For example, the purpleness of Electrum was based off of the homium from Fulgora in the Space Age thing. The original idea was actually to just put homium in there, but that's plagiarism. And here at Code Gang Studios, we do not like crime, or something like that. Unless it's tax evasion. That's fun. But, we're currently decreasing the milliseconds between tick, or MSBT, because we want to make everything go a little faster. At a later point in the video, I will be raising it back up because lag, like a ton of lag. I actually have a plan for an update after this, I guess, playthrough is complete that will add another planet as well as some more optimization and improved saving in the form of, like, you can actually export the saves. So, like, when it updates, you can, like, keep your world if you really want to. The new planet is going to be I guess, a farming style planet. It's the idea. To be full of farming and agriculture and plants and all that stuff. The idea is to have multiple different plants that you can collect from the rocket, and then you can you have to compost stuff. You have to like give them fertilizer to help them grow. I have plans to make it a relatively complicated thing because we are getting further and further into the late game, and I'd like to make stuff more complicated as it goes on. You'll notice that at certain points in this video, I do pause, and that is because I am actually petting my cat, who decided he wanted to say hi while I was recording. He's such a silly little guy. For a decent chunk of this, I try to redo, kind of, what I did in the technically not the last video, because that was the complaining about how Microsoft is bad one, but, like, in, I guess, this series, it would be it. Which means this is technically episode 2, though it is my 3rd video on the channel. Anyways, yeah. We're trying to, essentially do mostly what we did last time, because I want that to be a thing. A little difference is, in this one, we are actually moving the resources together and kind of trying to, I don't know, just have one brass machine. I believe in the future I will need more brass, so yeah. That'll be interesting. Do 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 do. Now we can just press it on one side and turn it to gears on the other. Which is, I believe, recipe 17? Yes, it is. I guess gameplay knew what they were doing. For the first time in forever. As of recording this, at least where I am, it is currently 11:15 at night. So, yeah, I'm a little tired, but that's what you do. Makes you, I guess, choose a better system for recording, I guess. Well, hopefully I won't have to switch recording systems anytime soon. You may notice that this steel system doesn't have a good way to dispose of stuff. And, well, that's because we have the trash loop. That area below that simply recycles any resources you put into it. which means I don't have to have any on-site disposal systems, which is always great, and it saves a ton of space. We're going to have, unlike last time where all the steel was kind of trying to do the exact same thing, we are just going to have separate isolated steel production for almost every component. Because it's easier this way. It just is. And that's brass components in record timing. I don't know if it's actually record timing, but who knows? Maybe it is. We'll never know. What's nice about Audacity is it actually shows me the current time with all the stuff. It also has a ton of interesting, filters I can put over the voice. I don't think I'm going to be doing that for this video, but who knows, maybe in the future we experiment with voice filters. Yet another steel production facility. 2 of 3 so far. And undoubtedly we will need more in the future. At some point, the resources become complex enough where you actually do need to just have one central thing doing it. Because, for example, something like Electrum is heavily used in in a decent chunk of the recipes. And it's also complicated enough where you actually need to, have a central production facility. At this time, I realize that my trash processing is kinda bad. So we, fix it by deleting some stuff. And now the trash flows beautifully, just as it should. Now we just have to make the poles and the plates. And then we'll have the steel components done, which will mean we will be caught up with the last video. And because this is the downloadable version, I won't have to worry about updating Edge deleting all my progress. I would love to try to make... I'd love to see if any programmers in the audience have any ideas on how I could possibly optimize my system. Because I would definitely like to make this game much faster and more capable. Because then I can make bigger factories and show off cooler stuff, and people who like the game can do the same. Around this time, I realized that these plates and poles should probably be swapped. It'll make it easier for the final production. So, I realize both of them use recipe 2, so I can literally just swap the machine. In older versions, the machine's recipe indicator would say recipe at POS, like position. That confused so many playtesters, it is kind of crazy. It has been updated now because I'd like my game to be relatively understandable. Because it's not the worst idea. I mean, some games have been able to get away with being completely incomprehensible. And then there's games where that's their entire reputation. I do occasionally watch a bit of board game like stuff because there's some very weird board games out there. I don't know, it's just an intriguing topic to me. But one of them that I had learned about was a RPG called Hybrid, and its whole entire thing is that it's just incomprehensible. Like, nobody knows what the guy was doing when he created it. It's just something's going on. Like, something is off with the guy. Around this time, you may start to notice that the game has begun to severely lag, which is another reason why I desperately need those performance improvements that I discussed. Also, my computer kinda sucks. It's a laptop that we added, like, slightly more RAM to. So, you can't expect much from it. And now it is time for component 3, the electrical component, which requires electronics. Who would have thought? Circuits are not very hard to make. They just require, well, plastic and wiring. So this will be relatively fast. It's not super crazy. You do need coal, which is made from using a press on charcoal. Back in the original state of this game, every single recipe had a machine for it, and after, well, updating it to use the recipe system and a couple, like 10 bajillion still, base machines, we actually, or I actually repurposed the coal press, which is what the normal press ended up becoming. The logo for the game actually was originally, I believe, the steel furnace, as it was called. It's a furnace for steel. The assembly line was originally for building tires. You can kind of see how it's like rubber with something being inserted. But it looks generic enough to, like, be used as something. Multiple machines were actually added after the recipe stuff. For example, the assembling machine was added. The furnace was essentially all the furnace sprites in the old version used the same base and kind of just recolored it, and the furnace was made using those. I believe the chemical plant was originally for just making plastic. Around this time, I delete the, I think it's called the combat machine. I can't remember what that machine's called. But it's mainly because the world is getting big enough, and I most likely won't need to ever go to the world edge unless I'm just trying to do that for some reason. So, yeah. Now now that we have the basic circuit, we now need the CPU, which is a circuit with extra plastic and copper. I didn't want to make it ultra complicated because, again, this stuff was added very early in the production, actually. That purple circuit you saw in the handbook actually came relatively recently, it came with all the different Electrum stuff. Because Electrum was like the big resource after that. I believe it's the fourth component? Yes, the fourth component, which means in the next episode we actually will be using it. Or producing it. And using it. And we will need a decent amount of it. So even though we're only doing one component next video, I assume it will be relatively around the same amount of time as some of these other videos. As we're going to have to design this for speed and efficiency and those types of things. But we are essentially done here, turning our steel component into an electrical one by adding in the CPU. This essentially means we are done. I hope you all have a fantastic day. And I will see you in the next one. Maybe we'll actually make some progress next time, too. Who knows? Goodbye.